over a week to go for the UK general election, the Conservative Party is now staring at a dramatic collapse. A poll by The Telegraph predicts a landslide for the Labour Party, while the Tories are expected to stop short of even 100 seats. The exact figures suggest the Tories would grab 86 seats, a number drastically lower than the 365 seats they won back in 2019. Meanwhile, Labour's predicted to win a record-breaking 446 seats. In third position are the Liberal Democrats with 64 seats. The SNP is only going to take over less than half of Scotland's 64 seats. A crucial constituency to track is Richmond and Northallerton, where Rishi Sunak might become the first ever British Prime Minister to lose his election seat. However, the contest is tight, with the Prime Minister Sunak likely to garner 35% of votes, with Labour set to potentially touch 37%. Cabinet members, including the Chancellor Jeremy Hunt and the Defence Secretary Grant Shapps, are also predicted to lose their seats. For the latest now, we're being joined live by our correspondent.
We're duty bound to protect.
Yeah, so for the latest on this story, joining us live is our correspondent John Bevere, joining us live this morning. John, we're seeing an increasing number of polls that are giving us all range of figures, but crucially, it looks like the Conservatives are on course for what could be an historic defeat and Labour a potential record victory. Give us your assessment with just over a week to go until the general election.
Yeah, I think what you're saying there is very interesting, because although we see these poll numbers going up and down slightly, as you would imagine, the polls all saying slightly different things. Actually, when you look at the majority of the polls, they're all saying the same thing, which is that there is going to be a Conservative wipeout at the next general election. That is very much the opinion of the pollsters. It's certainly the opinion of people as well when you talk to political experts, and also, to be honest, when you talk to politicians themselves. I've been speaking with some politicians here in Bristol, and even those who are running for office will tell you off camera and away from notepads and official notes that they are concerned about the future of the Conservative Party because they are deeply worried about what might happen. As you say, this latest poll shows the Conservatives might struggle to win not even 90 seats, and as we said, that would be a huge loss compared to what they had last time around, more than 350. So that would be a historic low for them. Certainly there is deep concern amongst the Conservative Party that unless something happens in the next week to 10 days ahead of polling day on the 4th of July, that they are in real trouble in terms of being able to mount an effective opposition. Labour, though, not taking anything for granted. What we've also seen from Labour is that they are being very guarded with their candidates. They are refusing their candidates to appear on some media outlets because they basically don't want anything to go wrong. So they are trying to very much just talk to people, not talking to the press as they much have done in previous elections, just concentrating on the local press, because of course in this country we have the candidates fighting for local votes. Everyone has to vote for one constituency, 650 in all, but certainly there is deep concern amongst the Conservative Party that unless something radical happens in the next week, that they are really going to struggle come election day. But of course these are just polls and we will need to wait to see how people actually vote.
Yes, and of course we've seen previous elections where there's been particular moments where big names have lost their seats, the Michael Portillo moment and various other examples throughout history. But for this election, John, we might have a whole host of cabinet ministers losing their seats in what could be a very dramatic evening of bad news for the Conservative Party.
Oh, well, you're absolutely right. I've even seen online on some stores here in the UK, you can buy posters with pictures of all of the big beasts, as they're known, all of the leading members of the Conservative Party, and the theory is that you cross them off on election night as they lose their seats. Now, this would have been unheard of just one election ago, so the fact that this could happen, I think, is a real issue for the Conservatives. We have huge names from the Conservative Party who are at risk of losing their seats. I was in Jacob Rees-Mogg's constituency yesterday, just near Bristol in southwest England, and there is very much a feeling there that he is fighting for his political life and that it could be very close. He is expected potentially to lose to the Labour candidate. Now, these are constituencies that previously had majorities of 10 or 15,000. In previous elections, it would have been unheard of to see these kinds of majorities overturned. But this is the fear now, that we are going to see some very prominent members of the Conservative Party, both past and present, who are at risk of losing their seat. So the Conservatives will be hoping that these polls are really predicting the worst, but in actual fact, more people will vote Conservative when it comes to them entering the ballot box and casting their vote. Certainly Labour just needing to keep their head down is very much the opinion from the Labour Party. They're not taking anything for granted. They are not saying that they're going to win. Of course, they are saying that nothing is guaranteed until after voting day. So it's going to be a very interesting final week here ahead of the election on the 4th of July.
Certainly is. John Bevere joining us there live, our correspondent. Many thanks for that insight. The betting scandal in the United Kingdom has widened, with another Conservative Party official reportedly being investigated by the betting watchdog. According to reports, Nick Mason is the fourth Conservative official who's being investigated by the UK's Gambling Commission for allegedly betting over the timing of the election. Earlier, Tony Lee, Laura Saunders and Craig Williams were named in the scandal and are at present being investigated by the election watchdog. The widening scandal has further damaged Conservatives' attempts to catch up with the opposition Labour Party, which is, as we've been hearing, far ahead in the opinion polls in the run-up to the election. In a statement to the media, the Conservative Party spokesperson said, and I quote, "As instructed by the Gambling Commission, we're not permitted to discuss any matter related to any investigation with the subject or any other person." Well, the Gambling Commission has not confirmed the names of those under investigation. In his letter, McFadden has asked the regulator to make the names of the Tories under investigation public. He said in the letter, and I quote, "There will be particular interest in whether any government ministers bet on the date of the election before it was called." On May 22nd, Sunak announced that the UK would go to the polls in July. This despite him having time until January 2025 to hold the general election. The July 4th date had been a closely guarded secret, and in fact many people in Sunak's governing Conservative Party were taken by surprise when the announcement for an early election was made.